cars that we're dealing with. Blame my shit! Whoa.
What's up, guys? T-Croc here. Welcome to the vlog. So as the title stated, I did fix the car, but I actually went through a couple steps using the factory service manual just to check everything. So here's what I did. Like in the previous video, I said that there was one injector that probably was bad or that may be stuck open. So I decided to take the intake manifold off and test that injector. I was going to test it with an ohm reader. Before I even did that, I decided to pull the spark plugs just to see what they looked like. And believe it or not, the rear ones were definitely smelling like fuel, so they were getting gas. But they were basically fouled out, so they basically lost their spark. There was no sense of cleaning them, so I decided to just replace those with some new spark plugs just to rule out any kind of ignition issue with the car when it's running. So decided to put a fresh set of plugs in, and I think I still use NGK. I think that's the only brand that I'll probably use for spark plugs. Highly recommended by Mitsubishi, and I mean a lot of guys run those with no issues. If the ohm reader wasn't working, I was going to use a Noid light as well. A Noid light, you basically you attach it to the injector harness, and it flashes. It's got a light bulb on it, and it flashes to let you know that there's a pulse going through it. Now, if the light just stayed on, then we know that the injector is basically always on, and it should not be like that. It should flicker. So with that being said, button everything up and decided to test the injectors with the ohm rings. And believe it or not, everyone tested within range. If you didn't know the range, I think it's 13 between 13 and 16. And if you didn't know that and you wanted to just test bad injectors without knowing the rings, you just basically find you test every single injector, and whatever one is like not within range, like it will read like way out of range between the rest of them, then that's your bad injector. So decided to test that and the injector harness, and then all that checked out. So that was like, okay, well then that's good. I decided to button everything up and give the car a start and see what happens. And you know, lo and behold, same thing happened. But I finally caught the fuel pressure. The fuel pressure looked good, but it dropped instantly when I turned the car off. And if you guys didn't know, there's check valves in your fuel pump, and according to the factory service manual, if it instantly drops, then your fuel pump is bad. So I went to my storage unit because I have a stock fuel pump and a sending unit, so I decided to replace that. I tried to use the OEM key for the locking ring, but it did not work. So I did my old school method, and it's using a screwdriver and a hammer. And if you guys didn't know, there's a locking ring on top of the fuel pump, and it's got these little black tabs. That's what you put the screwdriver on and hit it to knock it loose. Now, like I said, you're supposed to use this OEM key ring, but it doesn't work that well. Especially trying to break the seal on it. So if you want, you can break the seal with the screwdriver and hammer, and then you can use the key. And that's how I ended up doing it, because you can break the little tabs if you keep hitting them, and you're just gonna have to order a new locking ring. I'm probably gonna have to order one because I've taken this fuel pump out a couple times and the tabs are looking pretty bad. So dug in, removed the Walbro 255 fuel pump, and I just replaced it with the OEM one, which is fine. Like I said, the 255 was working perfectly fine. I mean, not working perfectly fine, but it would have been fine for that motor, and I didn't want to. I said, well, if I have one, I have a OEM one, I might as well replace it with that. So replaced it with the OEM one, got everything buttoned up. I even replaced the fuel pressure regulator to rule that out as well. So everything went OEM. So OEM fuel pump, OEM injectors, OEM stock fuel pressure regulator. And this is what happened. So yeah, definitely runs a whole lot better. It's running on all 6 cylinders. I decided to change the oil because basically there's probably gasoline in the oil, and that can definitely ruin your bearings. So decided to give it a fresh oil, and it smelled pure like gas. So what's gonna be coming up next? Basically, I'm gonna be tying up a lot of loose ends underneath the car, all around the car, inside the car. There's just like random parts, and I'm just gonna get it all nice and cleaned up. And I'm probably gonna go check other fluids and make sure all that's up to par. Then I will probably be contacting a few shops. I still need a few shops to go over the car for tech to make sure everything looks okay for a racing standpoint. And if I do have enough time, or just enough time for all of this, I am also going to put the car on the dyno to get some base numbers. The tune that I did put on it is kind of a mild tune, so I might just run that. So I will see you guys in a few weeks, and I'll update you guys. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.